Thank you so much, Raymond, for taking the time to chat with us.
Certainly. My pleasure.
And yes, I would love to learn more about you as a composer and your experiences. So with that being said, can you talk to me about how you first got into composing, or music for that matter?
So I've been a musician for most of my life now, when I think about it, since like the fourth grade, when they came around and were like, hey, who wants to play an instrument? And, yeah. And for me, I started with the drums, and, I stayed with the drums until I was like 13, but then there was summer music school, and every summer it was a different instrument. I was like, let me try the clarinet. I'm going to try the violin. I'm going to try piano. And then at 13, I started playing guitar, and that kind of changed everything, because then that's all I wanted to do was play guitar. So I started doing that through my teenage years, and then got into bands, and you know the story. It's how it goes. And then probably like 18 or 19 was when I discovered synthesizers, and this was the early 80s. So things were pretty new and exciting at that point, and I really got into that stuff and sequencers. And then so I was still in the band, and it was like, I'm going to play guitar, but I'm also going to play keys, and we're going to have a sequencer, and there's going to be a click track, and we're going to do, we're going to have all this stuff. And my drummer hated me, but it was a lot of fun. And that's when I really got into writing more and more. I was never a lyricist. It was always about just writing music and trying to write songs for the band and stuff. But the more I did that, the more I wanted to write other stuff. And I always liked film music, even like from when I was a kid. My first memory of film music is the original Godzilla. And that music just stuck with me as a kid. As a kid, I loved monster movies and horror movies, and I still do. But I remember that music. It was kind of terrifying, kind of sad, and just how important it was to the movie. And that really was an early, huge influence for me. And it stuck with me throughout. So I kind of kept doing the band thing, but on the side, I was writing my own stuff, instrumental pieces, that were kind of cinematic, but I wasn't really thinking about film music so much. But once I got away from the band life, I really focused on that more. And I'm self-taught, and I realized I needed to try to educate myself a little better. I wasn't going to jump into music school at that point. I didn't, but I started trying to learn as much as I could. And I would take class, if I could audit a course at a college, and I did that at Nissen in Manhattan to learn orchestration. And I took the Scott Smalley class out in Los Angeles, and I got books and read books, and I just dove in and wanted to learn everything I could about orchestration. I would go to the open rehearsals of the New York Philharmonic and sit there with the score and follow along. And just looking back now, it's like, I wish I just went to music school. But, I would have learned all this a little easier. But it was a fun way to dive into it. And there's always more to learn, and I'm still doing it. And then eventually I met some people along the way, and you start talking to them. Oh, what do you do? Well, I write music, and I'm trying to get into this. And I got hooked up with one guy who was a friend, who was an editor and worked at A&E, and he was doing some stuff for different websites and creating web content. They needed music. So I started getting in, doing a bit of music that way. And then a friend of a friend told somebody, hey, I know a guy who's making a short film and needs some music, and somebody else did that. So I got a couple of short films that way. And that's how I got into it. Unfortunately for me, it's not been a steady stream of film projects.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is common, but that's how I got into it.
Right. And definitely want to come back to that and kind of unpack that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Before we get to that, though, curious, with your background, is your primary instrument synthesizer and guitar? Yeah,
I would never call myself a piano player. I've been a keyboard player in a bunch of bands, and I played bass as well. But I would say the guitar, although Most of my composing doesn't have any guitar in it. Occasionally I will use it, but I'm more interested in writing for the orchestra and smaller ensembles, that sort of thing.
Got it. Do you have any sort of musical influences or film scores that really influenced you in your composing career thus far?
There's definitely composers and certain scores that I love and always come back to. I'm still a big fan of some of the golden age composers. I love Miklos Rosa and Alfred Newman, but my favorites are probably Bernard Herrmann and Elmer Bernstein. To Kill a Mockingbird is my favorite film score of all time, and that's a huge influence. More contemporary, I love Ryuichi Sakamoto and Abel Korzeniowski. He's probably my favorite of the newer composers. And of course, I mean, everybody loves John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith and John Barry. I love also. Yeah, I would say those guys are my faves.
Oh yeah, no, those are all great. And one of the things that I really love to learn about other musicians and composers in particular is understanding what each person's composing process is or music writing process is. Everybody is so different across the board. It's really fascinating to learn. So I'd love to be able to pick your brain and understand how you go about writing a particular piece of music, whether it's, your own music for yourself, for your bands, like you've done previously in your career, as well as learn about how you score for film and media and what that process looks like now.
For me, it generally starts with sitting down at the keyboard and just messing about. Something will hopefully fall out, a chord progression, a line or something, and I'll follow it from there. That's if I'm, just writing for myself. I usually don't set out to try to write something scary or something happy or something sad or what. It tends to just come when it comes. It frustrates the hell out of my wife because when she listens to stuff, she's like, where did this come from? What's this about? Was your inspiration for this? It's like, I don't know. It was just there. And that's how what comes out comes out. When I've had to work on film or other sort of media stuff, I really try to talk to directors or anybody involved and find out, okay, what are you looking for? What are you after? What's the story about? Even if it's a 5-minute little film, like, okay, what's it about? What do we want to try to achieve? I'd always love to be able to do motivic writing if I could. You can't always get that across in a short little project. But if I can, and hopefully, some directors I've worked with are like, I don't know what a clarinet is. You do what you want, and then I'll tell you if I like it or not. And other people are much more, well, okay, here, let me play this for you. I like something like this, which is great, because then you know where their head's at and you can try to give them what they want.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. There's so many types of directors, filmmakers, video producers. Some are musically inclined, some aren't. What has been some of the more, if you're able to share, what has been like a challenging collaboration? Or maybe on the flip side, if you had an example of a collaboration with a filmmaker or video producer that you're writing music for, if there was one that like worked extremely well and why did it work so well? Curious to kind of pick your brain on that.
I think the ones that have been successful they don't have to be musicians and they don't even have to understand what you're doing. But when they have a sense of what they're trying to achieve, what they're hoping the music will achieve, even if they don't know how you're going to get there, if it's going to be one instrument or a giant orchestra, if they know what they're trying to get a vibe, a mood or something. And it certainly helps if they've heard something, and it's like, I really like this. I can't use this, but something like this, as long as they don't want you to copy that entirely because you don't want to do that. But if that's the kind of vibe you're going for, then that sets you off a road. When someone is like, oh, and I literally had a director say to me, I don't know what a clarinet is. Because I was asking them like, well, I'm thinking about using a clarinet and she was like, I don't know what that is. You just do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of frustrating because you would like a little something back, because then you could go off in one direction and come back to them and they're like, oh no, that's off. Okay, but give me something. So it does really help when someone has an idea.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm happy to give somebody a couple of things to pick from. They don't, I don't want to give them one thing and then, okay, back to the drawing board. I'd rather give them a few ideas and see if they want to cherry pick from a couple or, all right, this is in the right direction. Keep going that way.
In your experience so far, working with directors and filmmakers, have a lot of them, I'm curious what the percentage is as far as like, hey, this is the vibe I want, and here's a few reference tracks. Yeah, I'm just curious how like a director in your experience has conveyed the type of like mood or tone or vibe that they want. And is it for a particular scene or the whole film?
In my experience, I've not gotten as much as I would like. I would say it's definitely the minority, the people that, especially if someone will give you an actual clip, a reference piece of music, like, oh, I really love this, or, that sort of thing. That's definitely the minority. I would love to get that more. But even just the general sort of sense of what they're after, or at least, like I said, what they want the music to achieve. They just want it to really sit quietly in the back and maybe not interfere, or if they really wanted to kind of push emotions forward, that's fine, even if you don't know a piece of music offhand.
Yep, I hear you there.
You're kind of left to your own devices.
Exactly. Kind of shifting gears a bit, I'm curious, given, your experience and being a multi-instrumentalist, what makes you, in your words, sort of stand out or have a unique sound, compared to some of the other musicians, other composers? Like, what's unique about the way that you write music?
I think that, especially over the past couple of years, what I've really tried to do, and there's an influence for this, and I'll get to it, but what I've really tried to do is to make as much impact as I can in a short amount of time. By impact, I don't mean, volume or intensity, but just emotionally with the music. And I will say, for the record, I bristle at the word epic. Epic music it's great, but it's not for me. It's not what I'm interested in writing at all. I get it. It's cool when it's done really well, and there's a lot of people who do that really well. It's just not for me. What's been a big influence on me over the past several years is television music. And I think there's some of the best work is coming out of television now. And I love a good opening theme. And so the idea of creating something impactful in less than 2 minutes, I love that. So most of the work that I do now, I really try to keep it under 2 minutes. Say what I got to say and try to hook someone's attention in a short time, because people's attention spans are short. Especially when there's no visual going on, you just want them to listen to a piece of music. They're not going to sit there for 5 minutes, or 7 minutes or 10 minutes, which is I might want to explore something and really go out there. Right now, I'm really interested in trying to, in my mind, my fantasy, I'm trying to keep you from hitting the skip intro button. Never hit the skip intro button. Let the music play, even though you hear it every time you watch the episode. Let it play.
That's a great quote. It's a great way of thinking about composition, really. It's just, from the viewer's perspective, I think so much we can get in our own heads with the minutia of creating a piece of music, but it's important to kind of put that front and center, and
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a great way of thinking about that. Is there a particular piece of music, project you've worked on in your career that you would say you're most proud of, or top 2, 3 pieces of music you like to share with the broader community, really anybody?
There's a couple. There was a piece I did for a friend of mine who's a singer-songwriter, and he was making his debut album. And I was helping him on the production side, and I played some bass and some keyboards on the records and stuff. And I said, you need one more song, you need one sort of more intimate kind of song. It was kind of a hard. And I was like, you need something acoustic that's just like you and your voice. And so he wrote this song about his son growing up and thinking about his son getting older and leaving him and going on into the world. And he wanted to have a piece of a little bit of orchestral music in the middle of it, and then something larger at the end. And he described to me, like, it's about my son just leaving me and going off. And it's a beautiful thing, but it's also sad. I'm sad to see him go. So he gave me that. And because he's my friend and I also know his son, and I was like, oh boy, I gotta nail this. I really do. Because this is his record. It's going to be the last thing on the record. And I finished it. I played it for my wife first, and I looked at her and she was in tears, and I was like, yes, nailed it. So I was very happy about that. And he was super proud, and his son loved it. And so really proud of that, for sure. The guy's name is Jim Higgins. You make growing older much more fun. And his album is called Yestermorrow, sort of a combination of yesterday and tomorrow. Yestermorrow. And I believe he's got that now on the streaming services.
So do you have any upcoming projects? Anything that you're excited about sharing, want to promote, anything down the pike?
No film composing projects. What has been happening a lot really since the pandemic started was that I had a lot of people who were starting to, decided to make records. Everybody was getting into their home studio and recording. So I got to do some arranging for people, which I do really like doing, string arranging and brass arranging, either for real players or for me to do virtually. So there's been a bunch of that, and there's maybe another record that's coming, but I'm not sure when. I also sometimes work in theater doing music for plays. I think the next one that I'm doing in that regard is not until next year. I just found out about it. So I've done that before. I love doing that. Talk about short music that's even shorter. Like 30 seconds is long, but that's a great challenge. Trying not to interfere, but just a little something you can get in there.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, I do love doing that. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess my last question is around what you're looking to do in the future from a composing perspective. Like, what are your career goals? What are your composing goals? What are you trying to kind of achieve, now at this point in your career?
To be honest, like maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I really was like going hard at it, trying to crack into composing, and it's a tough nut to crack, especially if you're not. And I was living in New York, so it's not like I was totally removed, but it's not the same as being in LA. And I wasn't moving out there, and life is life, and you keep at it. And I went out there a couple times and met with people. I had some friends in the industry who made introductions for me, but couldn't really get past the gate. Managed to get some stuff in New York, which was good. And at some point I felt like, okay, so I'm not going to be the next John Williams. But now my focus, and I'm always hoping to do it professionally. That's always the goal for any musician, any artist. You want to do what you love professionally. If I can't, I'm going to do it anyway. The past 2 years or so, like through the pandemic's been the most like creatively fertile period of my life. Like I wrote and wrote and wrote a ton. And it's sort of like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I'm not really sure. I'm getting better. And I think back to 25 years ago when I was really trying to crack in. I wasn't good enough. Do I think I'm good enough now? Yeah, I do. You learn a lot, over that time, and you just hone your craft. You get better and better. So I may have been working harder for it then, but I don't think I was ready for it or good enough. Now I feel like, oh, I know what I'm doing. But I will keep trying to do it professionally, even if it's not the only profession I have. I have a day job or a mortgage or whatever. I'm going to keep writing.
Right.
Have to. You got to.
It's a part of you, you know,
Yeah.
you'll never be able to let it go completely.
No, you'll never not do it.
Right. I pick up a guitar, like, I mean, I haven't played as much as like I used to, but I pick up a guitar every day, and it could be for 2 minutes, it could be for 2 hours, but as long as I have it in my hand, you know,
Yeah.
that's just part of who I am. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. True. I whenever I can, I do a lot of musical theater gigs. So I'll play in pit bands and stuff, and I love doing that. It's you know, it's great to play. It really focuses you. It makes you a better reader because I'm not the best sight reader, so having to work from charts is great. But yeah, I'll do that as you know, as long as I am physically. Yeah,
That's great.
excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks
All right.
again.
Take care, Ray. Bye.
Good night.